name their favorite Thanksgiving memories. What's yours?
Well, I'll go back to 2001, Greeny. I'm a newspaper reporter in Denver, and I always watched Texas Stadium and the Cowboys on Thanksgiving Day growing up. Got to go to Texas Stadium to be there to watch Brian Griese and Ryan Leaf square off in a memorable Thanksgiving Day in which Jason Elam, the Broncos kicker, I think kicked 4 or 5 field goals. Ryan Leaf played okay for the Cowboys. Brian Griese played well for the Broncos, but it was a thrill to be in that stadium, to be a part of the Thanksgiving Day festivities that we all watch each and every year.
I'm with you. The first Thanksgiving Day game I ever covered was in Detroit. I'll never forget that either. Meanwhile, let's talk about a different situation. Let's talk about the Eagles. We'll be watching with great interest Dallas and Washington today. They're atop the NFC East, Philly is. But there's all this conversation now about benching their struggling quarterback Carson Wentz. Listen to Coach Doug Peterson talking about this yesterday.
Tough decisions have to be made in this business, whether it's a tough decision to move on from a player in the off season, or to the decision now to whether you're going to make the move at quarterback or not.
You're not making that move, right, Doug, to a different quarterback?
Not today on Wednesday, no.
Okay, possibly for Monday?
I'm focused right now on getting better today. I mean,
okay.
We're looking. I don't know. I mean, I would say no.
Carson's your starter for Monday?
Yes.
So that was really stunning, and we talked about this earlier, but D. Wood, you weren't a part of that conversation, and I want to give you credit, because before the season began, I asked you on this show for a bold prediction, and you said that you believed then Jalen Hurts would start some games for the Eagles. Do you think that's the move they should make?
Greeny, it's working towards that way. I mean, you hear the coach, you hear Coach Doug Peterson waffling right now between, whether he wants to stay with the starting quarterback, and his quarterback is not playing well. Here's the only thing I will say, okay? I think this would be more offensive if Jalen Hurts was probably showing that he should be the starter in practice. Maybe that's why Doug Peterson is not going to say, hey, Jalen Hurts is not my quarterback, because maybe he's not showing it in practice, because you can't put a guy in there if the other players don't believe that this guy gives us the best chance to win football games. But clearly something's going to have to happen with Carson Wentz if he continues to play this type of football.
I had Sal Paolantonio on my radio show yesterday, Neek, and he said that maybe it would be in Wentz's best interest to sit him just for a game or two and let him get a different perspective and let it start over. And Sal reminded us all that in Philly they did that once with Donovan McNabb. Benched him for a week. He came back and played very well after. Does that make sense to you, Neek?
Yeah, it makes sense. I said it earlier than Sal on your TV show. So tell Sal, stop taking. Stop stealing my takes, Sal. Come up with your own material, bro. But I do think that listening to Doug Peterson's response to that stuff time and time again, something new pops up. He said, not today on Wednesday. Like, why would you say that? Then he said no 3 times and said yes with a smirk. Like, it just feels like he doesn't have any confidence in his quarterback. And to the point that Damien was making about Hurts maybe not showing it in practice, the one thing that Damien knows and we all know is backup quarterbacks don't get reps in practice. He's running the scout team in practice, throwing interceptions on purpose and things like that. So they don't really know how he's developed up until this point unless they give him a full week of preparation to allow him to play in the game. So I think that it's obvious that what Adam said earlier, he's contemplating it because he would have made those comments if he wasn't. Doug Peterson, that is, about benching Carson Wentz.
Yeah, Shefty, you mentioned that earlier. That's your sense, that he sounds like a man giving some serious thought to that.
Well, that's just how he sounds. Whether he's actually doing it or not, I don't know. But he certainly sounds like he's lacking conviction in whether he knows he wants to start him. Again, we've sat through and listened to enough press conferences over the years, and usually when you're asking a coach a question about his quarterback, are you thinking of making... No. It's decisive. It's flat out no. And there was not decisiveness there. He left the door open, seemingly, in the way that he said that. That's how it sounded to everybody, I think.
I completely agree. Okay, so that's something we'll worry about next Monday. Let's deal with the 2 games that we do get to enjoy today. It begins with the Texans and the Lions kicking off what is now a doubleheader. Matthew Stafford needs just 1 more passing touchdown to match Tony Romo's record of 18 touchdown passes on Thanksgiving Day. So that's the early game today. How about Washington-Dallas to go along with your second helping today? The Cowboys 8-1 all-time against Washington on Thanksgiving. The winner of this game will be in first place in the NFC East, albeit with 4 wins, but they will be. So let's take a close look at these games and go on the clock with the most important players for each of the teams. Bart, I'm going to start with you. 30 seconds. Who's the most important player for the Texans today? Go.
Well, the obvious is Deshaun Watson, but without the lack of Randall Cobb and you think about Kenny Stills being out, I think it goes directly to Will Fuller because his ability to stretch the football field. He's averaging almost 14 yards a catch. And when he plays, Deshaun Watson and that team and that offense move very, very well, understanding that Texans defense is struggling. And also the Lions are one of the bottom of the league as far as yards per catch. They should be able to exploit that secondary of the Lions and once again ruin my brunch.
as a Detroiter that you are. So Will Fuller is a good one. Dominique, on the other side, how about the Lions? Who's their most important player? 30 seconds. Go.
Yeah, I hate to always be like reductionist down to the quarterback, but it's the quarterback in this situation. It's Matt Stafford because his best playmakers are not going to be in the game. Galladay is not playing. Amendola is not playing. Swift's coming off of a concussion and likely will not play either. So Matthew Stafford is going to have to find a way to score more points than they did last week because if they do that, they can't win. The best they can have is a 0-0 tie if they come up with that nonsense again. So they need to find a way to create some points, and that's all going to fall on Matthew Stafford considering the injuries that they have.
All right, so that's our early game today. Now let's turn our attention to the afternoon game. D. Wood, Dallas and Washington. In your opinion, who's the most important player on the field for the Cowboys in 30 seconds? Go.
Yeah, Greeny, I'm going to go with Andy Dalton here. I mean, arguably he's the best backup quarterback in the league, and now he's in a starting role. But, when you look at the Dallas Cowboys, the strength of their team obviously is the skill position that they have, particularly on the outside. So Andy Dalton, he's going to be going against a very good pass rushing in the Washington football team. But if he can distribute the ball, get the ball into these playmakers' hands, these guys can definitely make some plays, particularly after the catch.
Okay, and so I will take the Washington football team today, and you just mentioned, as I give myself 30 seconds here, you just mentioned the most important player on the field for the Cowboys are their offensive skill position players. For Washington, it's all those guys on that D-line, and so I will go with Chase Young, who has been